Well, shocking new details tonight about a random attack downtown that left a local businessman and father of two dead.
Crime and disorder in the area are out of control.
This is Edmonton, Alberta, Canada's fifth largest city, and a city that is falling apart amidst dealing with crime, drugs, and homelessness that is fueling disorder and decline. The city's downtown has been hollowed out, and some parts of the city look like war zones. And Edmonton's toxic drug crisis is now being cited by the Trump administration. My name is Ellie. I have a decade of experience in Canadian politics, and recently my team and I went to Edmonton to see what was going on. We analyzed the data, we spoke to residents, and we walked the streets ourselves. And what we saw and heard were some of the most shocking things I have seen in my career as a journalist.
It is a very sketchy place.
There's crime everywhere, and there are people shooting up on street corners.
There were some young women walking down the street, a homeless guy who started harassing them. And as soon as they passed him, he looked them up and down and whipped out his...
So how bad has Edmonton become? And is this Canada's most depressing city? And who is responsible for everything that has happened here? In today's episode of Simply Politics, we're going to find out. But first, be sure you are subscribed, like this video, get the notification bell.
Journalism commentary 1 year anniversary.
I don't believe journalism being funded by the government is the solution.
You have to rebuild your foundation. You have to retell the stories.
Market conservative
Other news that actually matters.
I hence wanted to ask. I think they should answer their questions, especially if they're politically charged.
Part 1. Welcome to Edmonton. Edmonton is a city of 1.2 million people. It is the capital of Alberta, and it sits along the North Saskatchewan River, whose broad valley cuts through the city and helps shape its landscape. For a long time, Edmonton was seen as a rather quiet city, but in recent years, it has developed a reputation as a city that is grappling with a triple crisis of crime, drugs, and homelessness. My team and I arrived in Edmonton on a weekday afternoon. We checked into our hotel. The first thing I noticed is there was a security guard at the door of our hotel, which was the first sign of things to come during our visit. The most visible sign of downtown Edmonton's decline is the city center mall. It is located in the heart of the city and is supposed to be the main mall, kind of like Toronto's Eaton Centre or Montreal's Eaton Centre or Vancouver's Pacific Centre. And yet it feels like a dead mall. When my team and I visited the city center mall, we first saw homeless people congregating outside the entrances, and inside the mall, there were boarded up storefronts, closed down store, and little foot traffic, which is a stark contrast to the city's suburban malls like the West Edmonton Mall. So we're here in Edmonton at the city center mall, which is not very alive nowadays. Some may even describe it as a dead mall. We're here on a Friday at lunchtime and there aren't many people here. And it's got a lot of problems because it's near a lot of very problematic parts of the city. There's a lot of security guards going around. There's a lot of homeless people congregating at the entrances. And what's really sad is if you look around, like, this used to be a very beautiful mall. It's meant to be a very beautiful mall. This is gorgeous. And unfortunately, like much of the city, which is supposed to be gorgeous, it's just been completely overrun by bad crime laws, by drug laws. And the businesses, the residents, are paying the price. And I think that's very sad. Before going further, I wanted to speak to some Edmonton residents. So I caught up with Jamie Sarkanak. She is a columnist with the National Post who lives in Edmonton and who had a lot to say about the situation in the city.
But it's been quite some time since I've actually been to the Edmonton City Centre Mall because, like I said, it is a very sketchy place. People I know have gone in and been harassed by homeless people. There are security guards there, but that's not evidently doing enough. I've even had it where I went into the women's bathroom in the food court there, and this was a few years ago, but there were a couple of homeless women that it was almost like they set up their camp in the bathroom. It was very bizarre and it felt unsafe, even though it's bright lights. flashy finishes. It doesn't seem all that banged up. It's not the sketchiest mall physically, but as far as the presence of people who's in there, yeah, homelessness is a problem.
In a statement, the Edmonton City Centre told us that downtown has struggled since COVID and that they continue to feel its impact, but added that they now feel some positive momentum, given that the provincial government has mandated a return to office in person, something that other employees have done as well. They also said that safety continues to be their top priority. They say that most people feel safe in the mall, however, that feeling changes when they leave the property, and that the challenge is that their powers are limited outside, so they are working with the city and the chief of police to put changes in place to address these concerns. The mall's general manager concluded by saying, quote, "We see things moving in a positive direction, although we have plenty of work to go."
Downtown Edmonton is not a very residential place. There are not many apartment buildings, meaning that people mostly come to downtown for work. And then came COVID. And Edmonton is a government town. It is the capital of Alberta, one of the most important provinces in Canada. And during COVID, the civil servants were working from home. And this hit the downtown core especially hard. You have a downtown that is dealing with crime, drugs, homelessness, and there are simply not many reasons for people to go downtown. And therefore, many people just avoid it.
If your job is no longer bringing you into Edmonton or downtown Edmonton, next thing you have to do is just go there voluntarily if you want. But if there's a lot of homeless people, you will opt not to. You will find other places where the homeless are not walking around, and that's what people did. So foot traffic went down, some businesses closed.
Now, the city of Edmonton is trying to increase the vibrancy of downtown by having more residential units. But I spoke with Lorne Gunter. He's a veteran journalist in Alberta and is currently a columnist with the Edmonton Journal. He's lived in Edmonton for decades, and he told me that amidst the presence of the triple crisis of crime, drugs, and homelessness, there are not many people who want to live downtown.
The majority of Edmontonians don't go downtown. There isn't much retail activity in downtown Edmonton. There are a couple of streets in the city center where there's good nightlife, good restaurants, good pubs, that sort of thing. But for the most part, it's a ghost town. The city is trying to build more residential in the city core, but it doesn't work because people don't want to bring their young families down, live in an apartment, and have to navigate people who are shooting up on the street corners or committing crimes. Or who are off their medication. I don't blame people who are homeless for being off their meds and having a tough go of it. But at the same time, ordinary citizens can't be expected to just turn a blind eye to that. It unsettles people.
For Jamie Sarkinak, people have every right to be concerned, regardless of what woke activists say.
Most homeless people, yeah, they're probably not going to go and attack you, but there is a risk. You're rolling the dice with people who are very out of their mind, because again, they're usually on drugs, or there's a mental illness issue. They might be schizophrenic or something that is causing them to be homeless. It's usually not just they have very low income and they're on the street, and you just have to put yourself first.
Do you have any other incidents in Edmonton, downtown Edmonton, that you've experienced?
One that comes to mind, I was just driving down Jasper Ave, which is the main street here in the downtown. It was around the end of the workday, so I would say 4:45, maybe 5, very bumper to bumper traffic, because this is what I observed. There were some young women walking down the street in an area that was not too far from here actually, and a homeless guy in a red sweater, and I remember the red sweater because he had bizarre behavior, and a red sweater might indicate gang membership because there's a gang called Red Alert here, who started harassing them. They detoured around him to not get in his path, not get too close, and as soon as they passed him, he looked them up and down and whipped out his genitalia and started touching himself towards them. Yeah, and that's the kind of behavior that you can see if you have a lax attitude towards this. We're talking about someone who shouldn't be in public.
While downtown Edmonton was depressing, nothing prepared me for what I was about to witness in Edmonton's Chinatown, which effectively looks like a war zone.
Part 2, the numbers behind the triple crisis. Before I show you the tragedy in Edmonton's Chinatown, let's go over the numbers behind Edmonton's triple crisis.
Let's start with crime. Edmonton has some of the highest crime rates among Canada's major cities. In 2024, the city recorded 7,494 crimes per 100,000 people. And a considerable amount of that crime is violent. Edmonton ranks amongst the top 4 cities in Canada for violent crime severity. One way researchers measure this is through something called the Crime Severity Index. Edmonton's Crime Severity Index was 113. This is significantly higher than other Canadian cities that are also grappling with crime problems, like Calgary, which has a Crime Severity Index of 81, Toronto, which had a Crime Severity Index of 79, and Vancouver, which had a Crime Severity Index of 80. Over the past decade in Edmonton, violent crime has risen by 21%, violent crime severity has increased by 16%, aggravated assaults rose by 42%, and sexual assaults increased by 23%. In 2024 alone, Edmonton recorded 425 firearm incidents, 979 knife incidents, and 999 bear spray incidents. Shoplifting has also risen sharply in Edmonton. In 2019, the city recorded 633 shoplifting incidents per 100,000 people, but by 2023, that number had risen to 1,237 per 100,000 people. That is almost double the amount of crime. And shoplifting under $5,000 then rose another 12% in 2024. Edmonton's public transit has also been severely hit by crime, with assaults on Edmonton Transit rising by 260% over the past decade. We will have more about Edmonton's dangerous transit system in another video, so stay tuned. Now, to be fair, there have been some sign of short-term improvement. Between 2023 and 2024, some crime rates did decline. Robberies have also been on the decline in the medium term. That said, there is reason to be skeptical of media reports of lower crime rates when it doesn't feel like there's lower crime in the streets, because what sometimes happens is as we have repeat offenders, people stop reporting crimes, and as crimes stop being reported, they're no longer tallied. But it doesn't mean that there is less crime. It simply means that there's less reported crime. As for drugs, Edmonton has become the epicenter of Canada's toxic drug crisis. In 2016, Edmonton recorded 166 drug poisoning deaths. By 2025, that number had risen to 665 drug poisoning deaths. That is a 300% increase. Edmonton has the highest rate of opioid death in Alberta, along with the highest number of opioid-related emergency visits in the province. And for a while, fentanyl has been a dominant player in this crisis, fentanyl being a very addictive and dangerous drug. But now the situation is getting even more dangerous because a new drug called carfentanil is taking over the city. Carfentanil is an extremely strong synthetic opioid that is used to sedate large animals. It is more than 100 times stronger than fentanyl and between 10,000 to 100,000 times stronger than morphine. And just a tiny bit of carfentanil can be deadly. And the amount of carfentanil in Edmonton has risen by an alarming rate. In 2024, 16% of Edmonton's opioid death involved carfentanil, but by 2025, that number had jumped to 70%. Like many Canadian cities, Edmonton embraced the harm reduction model of Justin Trudeau that included drug consumption sites that were basically taxpayer-funded drug dens where people could go and consume toxic drugs. This approach failed to reduce visible disorder and has not helped this crisis. For more information about how this approach is horrible, I highly recommend you read Adam Zivo's columns in the National Post. I will put a link in the description. Now, the Alberta government under Danielle Smith is trying to move into a new direction, but we will get more into that later in the video. And Edmonton's toxic drug crisis has become so bad that it is now being cited by the Trump administration. During recent tariff discussions, Kevin Hassett, a Trump administration official, pointed to Edmonton as an example of Canada's fentanyl problem.
In Edmonton last summer, I walked out of my hotel and they had an ambulance there helping somebody who had OD'd sadly on fentanyl. And then as I'm walking to my restaurant, two people get in a fight with the cops over drugs right there just in downtown Edmonton. And this is just my one day when I'm staying there.
Homelessness has also surged in Edmonton. The city now has nearly 5,000 homeless people, up from roughly 1,500 in 2020. And almost half of Edmonton's homeless population is under the age of 44. And what makes Edmonton's homelessness crisis interesting is that Edmonton has some of the cheapest housing in Canada, which shows that homelessness isn't just caused by high housing prices, which is what the left often makes people believe. There is another component, and that component is addiction. And mental illness also plays a role here. And in Edmonton, the consequences are tragic. Edmonton is one of the coldest cities in Canada, with temperatures sometimes going to as low as minus 45 degrees Celsius. And as a result, the city has seen record amounts of frostbite amputations among the homeless, meaning that homeless people are literally losing body parts because of how cold it is outside. And in October 2025, there was a tuberculosis outbreak amongst Edmonton's homeless population. Tuberculosis is a disease many associate with the distant past, but yet in Edmonton, conditions has deteriorated so much that it is now happening in 2025.
Part 3, the Chinatown tragedy. Let's now drive to Edmonton's Chinatown. This is where homeless shelters are located.
This is the epicenter of Edmonton's triple crisis. Many Chinatown businesses keep their doors locked and require customers to ring or knock the door in order to be let in because of the public safety situation. A survey done amongst Edmonton Chinatown business owners had 100% of respondents saying that Chinatown is extremely dangerous, especially at night. And this is what my team captured there. Watch.
One thing is there is a lack of capacity in helping with mental health services. Some people actually should be inpatients in a psych ward. They actually do genuinely need that help. Some people will refuse that help. Others actually want that kind of help to various degrees of restraint. Obviously, I'm not always talking about a Shutter Island kind of situation, but even just hospital space for people with some sort of psychosis. There should be more capacity for that.
We are now into the 5th year of a left-wing majority council, and probably the 12th or 13th year of a very liberal council. And so they spend money like crazy. They don't achieve much with it. They're more interested in renaming neighborhoods with Cree names than they are in picking up garbage and plowing streets.
Part 4, what can be done about this?
The Alberta government, led by Danielle Smith, has made clear it wants things to change. And some of these changes have already been put in place. Alberta was the first province to reject the harm reduction agenda of the federal Liberals. And it has replaced it with something it calls the Alberta Recovery Model. That model emphasizes treatment, abstinence, and long-term recovery rather than simply managing addiction in place. The province says this approach includes rapid access to treatment, expanded addiction and mental health capacity, recovery communities, virtual opioid dependency treatment, navigation and support hubs, and new compassionate intervention measures for extreme cases. Alberta's Budget 2026 highlights $53 million to operate 9 recovery communities and $33 million for compassionate intervention through Recovery Alberta. The Alberta government has also passed Bill 53 to force people with severe addictions into mandatory treatment. The Danielle Smith government is also getting tough on public safety. Her budget 2026 includes $504 million for public safety and emergency preparedness, and Danielle Smith is investing $4.1 million over 3 years to expand Alberta's electronic bracelet monitoring program to, among other things, keep people safe from repeat offenders, which have become a problem because of the Liberal Party's bail reforms. But this alone will not solve the issues in Edmonton, because much of this is the fault of Ottawa, the fault of the federal Liberals. It was the federal Liberals that endorsed harm reduction, drug injection sites, and safe supply, an agenda they arguably continue to embrace.
Is injecting fentanyl safe? Yes or no? Just yes or no? Oui or no?
That we have to look into everything. There's no one size fits all in the drug.
So sometimes it is safe and sometimes it isn't?
So Edmonton needs a change of course from Ottawa if it truly wants to recover from this depressing triple crisis. And Jamie Sarkanak also believes that it's time to reopen mental health institutions.
There also needs to be the ability to detain these people, because I think it's around the 60s where the law started changing in Canada. We became a lot more liberal. We became a lot more free-range homeless, might be a way to put it, instead of contained. So putting them out there on the street as the humane solution is not right. Like, they're getting frostbite, they're attacking people, they're disrupting the public space. If you let this public space go so badly that parents can't bring toddlers into a space because they feel like they're vulnerable and they might actually get hurt, it's over. You can't have a nice society that way. So
is Edmonton the most depressing city in Canada? Well, I put the question to Lorne Gunter, and he told me that it is actually a terrific city because of its people. Watch.
It's a terrific city, but that's because the people in it are terrific.
And it is true. The people in Edmonton are lovely. I know this because I lived in Edmonton in 2021, and I absolutely loved the people. And going back to Edmonton, it was nice to see those lovely people. The geography of Edmonton, being in a river valley, is also stunning. But unfortunately, this contributes to Edmonton being the most depressing city in Canada because it has so much potential, because its geography is beautiful, because its people are amazing. And yet, you go downtown and you see the most depressing state of affairs in Canada. I would argue it's even worse than the downtown east side in Vancouver, which I've also recently been to. But not all hope is lost. It is possible to make things better. Edmonton can be fixed. I believe so. I believe there is never a city that is too far gone, and that with law and order and with proper help for the people in need, we can bring back safety and cleanliness in the city. If you agree that it's time to restore law and order in Edmonton and across Canada, then sign the petition below. And consider supporting my independent journalism by getting a paid subscription or just by subscribing for free. That helps too. Put your comments down below. I want to know what you think. Like this video, share. And until next time, God bless.